Tassie, so in this video I'm going to show you a basic edge beading that is similar to this style, where it's quite flat on the top and the bead hole is always facing away and out from your work. And so I've got a little red circle here, two, that I'm going to sandwich together, and I'm going to do some green edging all the way around the circle. Wanted to do some very contrasting colors so that hopefully will turn out well on the camera. I've already got my needle prepped here with a knot at the long tail and ready to go. This could also be, you could double up your thread, but I wouldn't recommend it if you're a beginner, because if you make a mistake, you can take your needle off of your thread and undo that mistake. So to start, we have our two felt squares, or circles rather, sandwiched together, and we're going to hide our knot in between because we don't want to be able to see that knot. So we're going to come up from the back of that front piece to the front of it, and we're going to tuck that knot in between. Now, if you're doing any other shape, it really doesn't matter where you are on the piece, whether it be an orange shirt or a flower or whatever it is, because you're going to be making a circle essentially all the way around. What will happen when you get to corners and edges is you might have to adjust your spacing slightly, but the technique is the same. So you'll notice in corners like this, my spacing is really tight where they're almost overlapping, whereas over here there is a little bit more space for that gap. All right, so I'm going to start by picking up two beads. This is the only time I will ever pick up two beads for this type of edging technique. So I pick up 1, 2 on my needle. I'm gonna come from the back of both of my felt pieces to the front, about a bead width away from my first stitch. Now my beads are quite big here, yours might be a lot smaller. I'm gonna pull, 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 and I've got my finger behind to guide my work. This is the part that people often get confused with. Which direction do I go through the bead hole? Well, if I were to go this way, my bead would sit with the hole facing in that direction. But if I were to go up this way, then my bead hole would face out and away from my work. And with this particular style, we want it to be going away from our work. And so we are going to kind of position our bead so that that makes sense in our minds and we can see that, and go under it and away. Again, if I didn't move the bead, it might look like I'm going sideways. And so this is the part where people get really confused. Which way is up and away? You have to position the bead away from it first before you put your thread through. So I'm gonna pull, 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 like that. You'll notice that first bead doesn't look right. It's not going to look right until the very end of our work. It's just going to flop around because we haven't positioned it yet, but we will. So don't worry about how that one looks, just worry about the way this one looks. From here on out, we're going to pick up one bead until the very end when we actually won't pick up a bead at all. So the technique will repeat. So back to front, bead width away, pull, 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 have your finger guide your bead. Again, put your bead in place and go up and away from your work. Pull your thread tight and you'll see those beads starting to sit right. Now I'll show you what it looks like if you've gone the opposite direction, which isn't wrong, it's just a different technique and not the one that I'm demonstrating in this video. So when I pull, 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 if I were to go this way through the bead, you see how it sits a different direction. Whereas when I go this way through the bead, they sit the same way. If that happens where you go the wrong way and you notice it after you've pulled through, then you can simply take your needle off your thread and undo that mistake. So I'm going to continue to go all the way around. I'm going to go a little bit faster, and then I'll show you when I get to the end how I finish off. Again, picking one bead up at a time, going all the way around. You'll see as I have more and more beads, it starts to look like something. but when I was starting out, it didn't look like a whole lot. Something else I have found as I teach this technique over the years is that sometimes flipping the work the other way can help people see which way is considered up and away. Oops, didn't get my needle through. There we go. So again, you can pick one up, go back to front, and then if it's helpful, you can flip it to the other side to see which way to go through the hole of the bead. Another thing that I've found helpful over the years is this is the direction I'm most comfortable traveling. However, you might be more comfortable traveling the other way. So this one I'm going counterclockwise, whereas this one I'm going clockwise. At any point in your work, if you feel like you're just not jiving with the direction that you're going, you can flip it upside down. Now this piece is the same on both sides, so you don't really notice. But if you had a piece that had, say, a pin in the back, you would just be approaching it with the pin facing up. And it doesn't matter because you won't notice which way you were working. It will turn out the exact same way. So whether that be working this way or working the other way. Now you'll notice those last couple stitches were a little wonky for me because I'm not used to traveling that direction, so my spacing changed a little bit. I wasn't paying as close attention maybe. And so that is something that you will get better with time, is getting your spacing the exact same. You'll see when I am working where I can see everything a lot better, it's a bit harder when I'm filming, that my spacing is quite consistent, as well as the depth of my stitches. And that comes with practice. So again, back to front, bead width away, pull, 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 find the direction of up and away, and pull. Back to front, bead width away, pull, pull, pull. We'll do one more here, back to front, bead width away, up and away. Now I'm gonna zip the last little bit together very quickly because I want you to be able to see how I finish the work. And so I know this is not the best demonstration, but hopefully the last couple minutes have been helpful for you to see. And if you're still struggling with it, you can certainly go back and rewind that part and go a little bit slower. It's very normal to have to do it a couple times to undo your work, to retry. Your first try will not look like mine. It's going to take a lot of practice before it starts to look uniform, and so don't beat yourself up about that. Even if you have some alternating of the two techniques where it's going one way and then going the other way, it's okay. You're going to embrace your mistakes, right? It's your first piece. So now we're at the end. And for you, that might look like a corner, it might look like a straight line. Wherever it is, remember at the beginning I said we picked up 2 beads, and then it was 1 bead, and then the very end, we're gonna pick up no beads. So watch very closely how this works. We're currently coming out of our last bead. We haven't tacked down our first bead yet. It's just kind of floating around. And so we're gonna do the opposite of what we have been doing. Instead of going up and away out of a bead to secure it, we're gonna go down and towards. So we're gonna go down and towards, pull, pull, pull. And we are going to go through right on top of that first stitch that we put down. So I'm gonna put my needle. As I come to the back, you'll notice we don't have a back stitch yet. And so we're creating one. Remember, because we tucked our knot inside. So we're gonna pull, pull, pull. And now, from this side, it's looking a little weird, right? We need that bead to start sitting aligned with all the rest of them. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna sneak under it and go up and away. You might need to pause at this point and rewatch that, as it takes a few tries to figure out how to do that. So again, we went down, through, up and away. At this point, we're ready to start to find a way to tie off. There's a lot of different ways that you can tie off your work. this is the way that I do it. So I go down the bead next to me, and I want to come in the back of my work. Again, if you had a pin, it'd be the pin side. I'm gonna bring my needle down, and I'm gonna go under this thread bridge here. Pull under, and see that loop? Go through your loop, oops. Pull, and it makes a knot. Now at this point, I don't want to cut right here because I need to leave a little bit of a tail, but I also don't want to see my tail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go scoop under some of the felt. I'm going to bend my work so my needle pops out away from where my knot is. Pull, pull, pull. At this point, get your scissors, pull nice and tight, and snip. You can't even see where that is, especially if you just rub it, it'll start to disappear. So that's how you do a simple flat edging technique. And it will look something like this. Thanks for watching.